Hi, from Dusseldorf Boat Show 2025. I'm Toby Hodges from Yachting World. And you may think I'm on the deck of a fairly big cruising yacht. That's because of its beam. This is the Grand Soleil Blue, the world premiere of a very, very interesting new boat. And I will show you from the outside, because then you will see, from down here, you will see the freeboard of it. We'll show you the proper lines of it. So that is a removable carbon fiber bowsprit, which means that it still fits in your 9.9 meter hull length. Little sail locker in there, and then from this angle, look how wide she is. And this is what I mean by the freeboard. So that's the Grand Soleil 52 hull there, but look how skimming dish shallow this Grand Soleil Blue is. Flared aft sections as well, which helps keep that narrow wetted waterline. Very cool and unusual to see such a low freeboard shape like that. Anyway, what I wanted to describe, there's quite a lot to tell you about this boat. I've just been sat down with the builders and the designers and talking through the concept and the design itself. As you can see, it's very beamy. It's a sports boat. It's a Matteo Poly, very contemporary looking design, and it's a very flat-bilged sports boat, but it's one for weekending. Now, apart from that, why blue? Because that's their tag for saying basically it's a green boat. It's the first production boat that's recyclable in Italy, essentially. So they use the helium thermoplastic resin from Arkema, which means that at end of life it could be broken back down into pellets and reused. So I will talk about more of that as I go through the boat, but you have to bear that in mind from the beginning of the concept of designing the boat. Keeping that end of life in mind has been absolutely key, and at the moment you can do that via a mechanical process, and they're working on a chemical process. So mechanical process basically to take the GRP and the core and to shred it into pellets and then reuse it as something else. In time there will be, for the big parts like this, you can already do it. In fact, you look at NL Comp's website and they'll show you how they do it using a chemical to break that down as well. But you can appreciate doing it for a boat is a different matter entirely. You might remember the name NL Comp as well, in association with Matteo Poly, the designer of this, because we featured the Echo Racer before, and for European Yacht of the Year as well, and on Yachting World. So it's the same technology, same design and technology partnership taken to Grand Soleil to do it on a production level. And now for a bit more about the design. So from back here you can see this is big. This is a weekender, remember. So normally day sailors weekenders are 2.5 meters beam or whatever. They wanted to keep Poly's cool hull shape, and with that means you get the space where you want it. So a massive cockpit. This is a 33-foot yacht, and yet look at this. This has got a aft platform of a 45-foot cruising boat, especially for relaxing. But the actual hull lines at waterline are really narrow, so you get the space where you want it, inside and on deck, but it's not going to be at the cost of drag. In fact, this is a boat that will start planing in about 15 to 16 knots true wind, says Matteo. This one has a few options on it, but yeah, we'll go through a few of those, like this main sheet track. You don't have to have a traveller. The standard boat comes with 2 winches. This has the extra ones for that German main sheet system. But otherwise you have a single point self-tacking jib, so you just have a jib rig to one, main sheet to the other. Very simple for one person to sail. It's quite cool as well. They've really thought about how much you use, how much you have to go into building, how much goes into molds and stuff. So even like this cockpit hatch, you notice it's quite small, but it's the same as that one because it's the same mold, and that one, and they all interlink, so there's space around that. Yes, this has the sort of faux teak deck on it, but basically they're keeping the parts down to a minimum has been key, so that at its end of life, which would be at the same time as end of life as any boat, any GRP boat, could be 50 years, could be more, whatever. You take all the hardware off, take the decking off, and then you're able to break the boat down. Solar panels on deck, 350 watts of that, and you combined with a e-propulsion drive and hydro generator. So this basically has a pod in it. I'll show you below these steps. E-propulsion drive, which is hydro generating to fuel the battery. And you can have 1 or 2 batteries. So the idea is that you arrive at your boat on a Friday night, you go sailing for the weekend, and you're self-powered. You can of course plug into shore power after that to top the batteries up. But have a look in here. Super cool weekending interior. And yeah, this is my standing head height looking over that. So it is designed to be a seated headroom interior. So once you bear that in mind, you're going to be sat all the time. It's pretty cool. One big V berth that you can sleep in, obviously, for a night or two. Just remove these dividing cushions. A big saloon, sort of nice little galley area, and a head. Now, you just need to accept that you're going to be bending over all the time going into here, but when you're in the interior, you're sat. Through there, you've got access to the systems. Below there, the extra batteries. But yeah, plenty of space in this heads. And then you've got a little sort of mini usable galley, particularly if you're on your knees here, with a good sink, refrigeration and stowage space. And then there's nothing much really other than the furnishing. So again, this uses recycled materials for all the actual furnishing here. Obviously your metals and timbers can be recycled. And the sails they'll use one sails, 40 recyclable sails as well. So this is an e-propulsion system. So that's the battery part of it. And then below there's a pod, essentially, and that you can choose to have, this is the standard, and then you can have a second battery on top of that as well. And that means with one, that will give you 30 miles range at 4 to 5 knots of motoring, and then with 2 batteries, 60 miles range. And that would have, obviously using a fixed blade on that pod would give you the most amount of hydro generation. So that would be a choice, obviously, but if you do take the fixed prop, you can get around 1 kilowatt when you're doing 10 knots of speed. And bearing in mind this is a planing hull shape, you should be able to make that sort of speed as well. Plus you've got your 340 watts of solar. And that was your quick and dirty tour. Why quick? Because this boat's almost ready. It's going to launch this spring, so in April they'll do their first sea trials on Lake Garda, which would be pretty cool. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to sail, so I want to do a sailing version of this later in 2025. This boat, has a 2.2 meter keel, it's 33 foot hull length, and it starts at 229,000 ex-tax. So with all the options on and stuff, it's about a 300,000 euro boat. Hope you enjoyed the quick one. See you later.